That's hard to live up to. I have a new book out too, called Sidebend World. It came out at the very end of 2018 from the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm going to be reading mostly from that, though I'll probably do a few others. I'm going to start off with the title poem, Sidebend World, and just to help to ease you into it. I know it can be hard to just jump into a poem when it's not in front of you. Just imagine somebody who is flown to Hawaii, taken their rental car, and driven to the condo where they're going to be staying, and is just kind of getting out and sort of stretching and doing a side bend. That's Sidebend World. When I lean to my right, left arm stretched over my head to help relax back muscles knotted up from hefting heavy luggage yesterday, the purple dawn-brushed ocean tilts to my right too. All scorpion fish and whales and giant squid tilt right, having to swim now on an angle to parallel the surface of the sea that swells and settles on an angle that increases the farther to my right I go. All cars in the condo parking lot incline. The maps, rental contracts, half-eaten burgers boxed and forgotten in vacationers' trunks shift, slide, fall to the right side. All waves tilt as they roar toward shore like humpbacked monsters hissing angry spume that leans, as does the lava Kilauea extruded last night, and every tree and shrub now dressing up in day-glow green. Doves in flight, cuck, like scouts that shout a warning, palm to slanted palm. Bird-brained egotists, they think the cosmos orbits around them. Speaking of which, the sky tilts, and the clouds tinted orange and pink, and the air which gleams pale blue, the faded sliver of a moon tilts, insisting, I'm still here, and way up high, the planets spinning through space feel themselves, if they can feel, shifting right, until I straighten, and the universe does too. Thank you. You guys don't have to clap after every one. This is something I've heard David St. John say, and it's a good idea. He said, if you just have to, you can. I'm not going to tell you not to, but save it up and go wild at the end. Claudia has a book about disappearing. And I was going to read this poem anyway, but now I really have to. Does anybody remember that old magazine called the Weekly World News? Yeah, it used to be next to National Enquirer and the Star and all that, but it was really, really strange. I used to consider it the greatest surrealist journal in the United States because they had these bizarre stories, and they had characters that would recur. One of them was Bat Boy, who was, you remember Bat Boy? He was discovered hanging upside down in a cave. I wrote about Bat Boy, but another one that they had all the time was World's Fattest Man, and they would have a picture of him. And one of the titles, or the headlines, was World's Fattest Man is Missing. And so I wrote something about it. When I weighed 200 pounds, no one could miss me. Sunny day play school trucked in a special desk and let me use the teacher's pot. Did you see that? People would say. At 400, I started fading. When the boys chose sides, they didn't look at me. When I asked Tina to the prom, she turned as if I weren't there. At half a ton, I couldn't squeeze out of my house to be seen. I dodged mirrors like a vampire, so they stopped reflecting me. Now, People stare at my photo. Bloated toad with tiny tadpole feet, my pea head grinning like the world's biggest 3,010-pound joke. In person, I'm like Earth's curvature, my scale too vast to see. People mistake me for some water-sculpted mountain. Parts keep avalanching down. Once the flesh stops quivering, I'm very still. Matter ceases to exist when movement stops. That is my goal as I sit, absorbing stillness. Or is it absorbing me? Houseflies doze on my forehead, spiders nest in every crack. Soon, my weight will make me fall into myself. My gravity so strong, not even light escapes. I had no idea where that was going to go. You know, when I write, I like to just have an entry point and then just sort of see what happens. A lot of times the entry points are something that I think is funny, but it rarely ends up being funny all the way. And that one turns serious really early on, like almost immediately. Okay, here's one that's kind of lively. I mean, I'm having to be entertaining, right? So this poem is called Nice People Aren't So Bad. They won't crack you up with chocolate dildos swiped from Amsterdam porn stores. But old Mrs. Wynne next door gave me a turtle she found chomping her pansies, and when Dad hustled Mom at midnight off to have my sister at St. Luke's, grouchy Mr. Wynne gave me his bed and snored in his green-striped PJs on the couch. Nice people swear by saying, ouch. They own God Bless Our Home potholders and monogrammed spoons from every state they've been. They squeeze old rugged cross from the accordion, don't wear gold navel rings or nipple strips, and won't give a piss-off look as in a bank you joke, is this the vegetarian line? Nice people don't drive Bigfoot trucks with shiny mud-flap silhouettes of naked girls. They won't charge you $20 to use their jumper cables or scream, suck my dick, and peel away. In a 4-man lifeboat, they'll let a 5th climb in and share their food. Extremely stupid unless the 5th is you. Nice people don't call the sky punch-in-the-eye blue. They won't so much as kiss if either one is married to someone else, though they may say, I really like you, in a cherry blossom shower, then rush away. They're not Vermont-like, cold and gloomy in the morning, sun at noon, then windy, then dark clouds and rain. They chirp good morning without irony or wish for gain. They won't guffaw at prumps and blats from the next stall. But if your stomach aches, they'll give their last Pepto-Bismol to you. Spurred by some impulse science can't explain, nice people yawn when other people do. That's the truth. I read that anyway. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Empathy, I guess, huh? Okay. Anybody know what a bait ball is? Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, you guys are close to the ocean here. A bait ball is like a large group of small bait fish. And they don't just stay in a ball, but they get in a big group. And the idea is all these flashing little silver fish distract predators so that it kind of confuses them. So some of them die, but most of them don't. And that's all evolution's looking for. So this is one of the few poems that I've ever written that has a shape. I'll show it to you. It sort of ends up looking like it looks like a funeral urn, but But this isn't called funeral urn. It's called, or bait funeral urn. It's called bait ball. Not really round, not suitable for bouncing, not the name of any dance or game. A bait ball forms when little fish, a school, a horde, a mob, a myriad of smelt, shad, herring, mackerel, anchovies gather in one swirly swarm of shimmering. A fish tornado, a silver ghost evolved to befuddle and scare the tuna, dolphin, whales that want to gulp it down. London, to the Luftwaffe, was a bait ball. People are bait balls to disease. Take him, not me. An army is a bait ball that bites back. Marlin smashed through a bait ball the way cannon shots smashed through soldiers at Bull Run. Ranks closing, the ball reforming, moving on. Awful to be a statistic, 1 in 10. To know your life depends on luck. Yet break away from the bait ball and you're the straggler, ready to be culled. Your scant power and size stand hugely on display. To have a chance, you must give up your spiked hair and bite me shirt. You must give up your solitude, surrender to the silver ink blot, twirling top, globe glittering in the sun's beams, nettle flower, cactus barrel, whirling fur hat, spool of light, flying saucer, turning inside out and outside in, wraith struggling to form a face, dream creature risen from the deep that cannot see its beauty, move like God beneath the water's skin. Oh yeah, you can't hold back, right? If that poem intrigued you, go on YouTube and look up bait ball, because the things are gorgeous. They're unbelievably beautiful, and they do take those shapes. The way I came up with all those metaphors was I just watched the thing and said, it looks like this, it looks like this, it looks like this. You never know. Sometimes that wouldn't have worked, but I think it worked okay this time. Let's see, what do I want to read you guys? Oh, okay, now here's another poem that was almost a shape poem, but I showed it to a couple of my friends that I show work to. Some of you probably know Ron Kirchie. He's the main guy I showed. Originally, this poem was supposed to be printed upside down, and you'll see why. But he said, Charlie, come on, you can't read it that way. So I take his advice a lot. Anyway, this poem, mostly I get my titles toward the end of a poem, but this one came first. And the title is called Custer's Last Handstand. So you can see why I wanted to flip it over. Sent to Indian Territory after bringing up West Point's academic rear, he'd stoop to scrutinize a track. Then, presto, inverto, his boots were in the air. He held this posture on horseback at full gallop as his soldiers cheered. He walked on his hands, too, feet dangling like a scorpion's tail over his head, while Indian scouts, bronze faces breaking into grins, screeched war cries and pranced like savages. He dreamed of gripping a conquered general's sword between his feet, not snatching it with both hands the way that drunk Ulysses Grant grabbed General Lee's. Even when Little Bighorn blew its sourest notes, he never quailed. Colt pistol crackling, sword flailing, he barely heard his soldiers' shrieks. He stood alone and laughed, his horse death twitching at his feet. Look, he cried, as swinging tomahawks and scalping knives, the Sioux braves rampaged in. Watch this, he roared, thrust his hands into brown earth and raised his bloody boots, his hair yellow as Black Hill's gold showering down. Yeah, that's a good one. I like the quite a bit. Those are really good. Oh, Okay, here's one where I set myself a task, and that was to write an entire poem that was all one sentence. And it was not super long, but long enough, like this long. Yeah, as you know, I've already shown you, I get inspiration sometimes from standing in the checkout line, and I used to see the Weekly World News. Well, I saw, there's all kinds, I'm sure you guys know, there's a lot of women out here. So Glamour magazine and, Mademoiselle or whatever. I don't read them too much, but there's always some impossibly beautiful woman on the cover. And it just occurred to me as I was looking at this heroically beautiful woman that she would never go out with me, not in a million years. So, nobody that heroic would ever do that. So, anyway, I wrote this poem, and the title begins the whole thing. The woman on the cover of Glamour magazine would not look twice at me. She's so spunky, confident, devil-may-care in her crimson blouse, her violet eyes so full of tigress in bed and tyrant in the boardroom that her auburn hair waves in the breeze of her own forcefulness, tousled and churning as if she's flying her latest rescue, Lucky Man. Like a babe in her slim, muscular arms, hearing the cheers of earthbound females who think they can be her by shooting, metaphorically, this magazine into their veins, whence it will blast its magic to their brains as she streaks on her own power through clouds puffy pink as pillows on the Louis XIV bed in which she deigns to sip the world's best wine before attacking the Krav Maga workout that keeps her abs so tight, her buns so trim, her shoulders able to heft effortlessly the weight of her natural D cups, even hunched over the equation she's developing to link at last general relativity with the quantum world of ultra-tiny particles, one of which I am compared to her. Okay, that was entertaining, wasn't it? Say, I'm okay. I'm still okay. Oh, did I? Let's see. Oh, man. I thought I punched my watch. So what have I got? What do I need to do? Okay. Let me see. I wanted to read this one. Let's see if I can. Okay, good. This is from Brain Camp, which you mentioned. When I was about in the 4th grade, they started teaching some of the students in my elementary school Spanish, and I was one of them they were teaching. I'm still not very good at it, but I did learn that the word for nothing was nada, and I had a little sister. Need I say more? So this poem is called Nada. What a thing to call my sister. Nada. Nothing in Spanish, where D sounds like TH. Nada. 2/3 of the way to Nathalie, where in French the TH sounds like T, as in nativity, birth, the opposite of nothing, though all who are born return to it. Nada. The word contagious, even Mom fizzing laughter as she said, "Don't call your sister Nada." But my gift was making fun. When Nada called her kitten Princess, I called her Rancidia, which stuck. My sister's preference meant nada. Nada that morphed into nadir and nodule, lump that could be cancer and lead to the house of nothing. Nada, of whom I sang, doesn't have a head, no, not one, making Mom exclaim, "Don't say your sister doesn't have a head. She certainly does." Even my father laughed at that. Even he called her Nada once. Nada, negation of da. Though he'd have died for her, died for nothing and become it. Nullity, Christ denied, but Buddha embraced. Zero, nil, the void. Nada, which is heaven in a way. Nada, wondering why I've heard she's not much in my poems. Dear Nada, some say all my poems are about nothing. Worth it, too. May nothing hurt you, Nada. Better than gymnast Nadia with her perfect 10. Decades late, I confess, I was wrong. The night you played Chopin in church, Dad got it right. She's really something. Nada, who helped our parents shrink toward death while I grew fat on life. Nada, your virtues vast as space. You had a head. There was nothing wrong with you. Thank you very much, really. You guys are a great audience. I had dinner with Ron Kirchie last night. He told me that this place knows how to rock. Yeah, let's see. What am I going to do? Okay. I'm going to read two more. Do I have time for two more? Okay. It was mentioned that I teach at Cal State Long Beach, and as such, I've had to ask people for recommendations in order to get my job originally, and I'm asked for recommendations all the time. And recommendations are really tricky, and nowadays with laws the way they are, no one dares ever say anything true anyway. So when you're trying to read recommendations, you just know, okay, well, this guy is Jesus, this woman is Jesus and Mary together, and nobody is anything but a god. But so I wrote a poem called Recommendations that talks about the process that we might go through. Because I got some instructions as to how to write a recommendation, and that kind of ticked me off. Recommendations. Speaking frankly, but considering libel laws, what is your opinion of the candidate? How would you rate her maturity, creativity, intelligence, knowledge of the field, intangibles? Be aware that what you say affects the candidate's whole life. Whom he/she will marry, how many children have, if he/she will beat them, turn to drink, drugs, infidelity, if there'll be suicides in the family. Please state your credentials to recommend. Just who do you think you are? Enclose 3 letters in support. Have these 3 references submit 3 letters. We'll get to the bottom of this. If you have qualms about the process, give them up. Life works this way. Someone likes someone and tells someone else. Someone passes dissatisfaction on. Do not be overly polite. Do not dwell on shortcomings of the method. Honestly, would you invite the candidate to dinner? At your home? Your parents' home? When your bedroom was a mess? Do you still live at home? Do you own a home, or are you renting? Do you own a waterbed? Would you take the candidate to bed? Would you take him/her out first? Would you go to lots of trouble or have to just fall into it? Would you let the candidate date your son or daughter, if that son or daughter were an only child? Do you think it wise to have only one child? Impartially compare the candidate to your children. If you are childless, why? With how much money would you trust the candidate? In what denominations? Would you trust the candidate with your house keys, your reputation, your heart? Would you recommend the candidate for a heart transplant if it were your heart, if you weren't dead? If a dog and the candidate were drowning, which would you save first? Substitute your parents for the dog. Substitute your wife, child, hamster, an amusing tapeworm, Hitler. Describe the candidate's favorite erotic fantasy. How do you know? Describe your own. Incorporate the candidate. Does it help? Is the candidate Asian, Latino, Native, African, or oppressor American? This doesn't matter, we're just curious. Is the candidate disabled or challenged? Ear tufts are not enough challenge. Nose bristles may be. Yeah, it's a hassle. Okay. I'm going to end with this poem called Down the Bayou. If any of you know the song Jambalaya, that's where it comes from. I was saying at dinner, something I always tell my students, I read because one life is not enough. I like to get into other consciousnesses, and it's pretty easy for me to do it. So I think it's easy for most people. We have this amazing power of empathy. So this is a poem in which the speaker just moves from scene to scene as some kind of art or another happens to him. So it starts obviously with Cajun. Down the Bayou. One verse into jambalaya, and I'm poling my pirogue down the bayou under beards of Spanish moss. I'm wrestling a bull gator for its scaly steaks. I'm telling Yvonne I don't much like Big Macs, me, while crunching crawfish, which creeped me out before. I'm rocking at the Fay-Do-Do, accordions pumping and wheezing as couples two-step on the houseboat floor. Hey, The Sopranos are on TV. 5 minutes in, I'm calling guys Frankie the Frog and Lenny Lasagna, swigging vino, yelling, forget about it, laughing so hard Fusilli fusillades the room. I'm placing family over everything, wondering who to whack, when my stereo, a wedding present from the dawn, blares She Loves You. Suddenly, I'm slurping lobscouse with the lads, tromping through cold Liverpool rain, winking at birds, all of whom I've shagged and now call love. Before I'm halfway to me mum's, I've written yesterday and help. When George clomps on my foot, I bark, "Fuck's sake, you broke me fucking toe." The girls scream louder. The prettiest take me home. As she makes me a nice cup of tea from dark shadows beside her bed, interview with a vampire hisses, "Open me." 3 pages in, a raven-haired seductress gives me her dark gift. Eternity wraps me in a satin cape, warm and black as the Tuscan night, through which my red Ferrari's slicing, me bat-flapping overhead. When a pink Hummer roars up, blasting 50 Cent, right away I'm styling down the dark Bed-Stuy streets, sweaty from hoops with Mike and boxing Sugar Ray, snug in my ankle-length snow leopard coat. I'm king of the hood, one badass muffa, but I take care of my peeps like my hoes take care of me. I strut into Zorba's place to get my props, but one plate of moussaka chased with ouzo, and I'm scarfing appetite in thick-cut chops. My laugh embraces every ecstasy. My words deserve a dissertation, but you can't learn life from books. You've got to seize beauty and drive death back with zest and truth and charm. So I link arms with everyone and make the whole place shake. Opa, we yell, staggering drunk, woozy from love's sacred cup. Opa, opa, hard breathing, stomping calloused feet, we hold each other up. Thank you. Okay. Well, that counts as going wild. Thanks.